Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Breath of Fire 2. Last episode, I showed you how to get the Uparupa, how to catch it, the fact you should let it go, and then we beat up the Ringmaster who tried to get us to catch it in the first place since it turned out to be a sapient creature. But the thing is, that merchant we bought the Alger Fruit from, he only has one. And if you blew the one that you got from him, you end up having to find it somewhere else, because that was the only one he had. So today we're going to show you how to get it, hence the location with the white arrows and everything. And also fight an extremely tough optional boss, probably the second hardest boss in the whole game relative to where you're at. And joining me today for that is Skyzo. How you doing, buddy?
Hello everyone. I'm doing well.
Also, did you notice that the cost for the Uparupa was only 10,000 zenny as opposed to the 900,000 the Ringmaster tried to gouge from us?
Nope. Why is that?
'Cause the Ringmaster's an idiot. He didn't even know there was a trick door on his own cage that the Grassman could just walk out of.
I don't know about you, but that feels like an oversight.
No, I think he's just a moron. But I don't know.
It's fair enough.
Also, this monster hunter, it turns out he ran into a rather freaky creature when he went into the woods. So freaky that he actually bled on his own journal for dramatic effect.
It's interesting.
Now, pay attention to these lyrics, because there's an interesting theory behind them.
Alright. Kinda spooky.
I think that's the last of them. A fan theory is that those words reflect how Ryu felt when he lost his home and was cast out into the big open world. Not sure if that's true, but an interesting theory nonetheless.
That makes sense. And here it is.
Oh yes. Now, this fight is insane. To start with, there are 3 guys to contend with, and not just one. 2 of them have AoE spells, and the other one heals one of the 2 for 100 HP every turn. Troublesome enough, but what really pushes this over the edge is that there's a 50% chance of Lienda or Eski reviving after every action. Not every turn, every action. On odd numbered turns, it's Lienda the healer. On even numbered turns, it's Eski the jolt user. So assuming there's like 5 to 6 combatants, if one of the others is dead, that is 5 to 6, 50% chances in a row for one of those 2 to revive at some point during the turn. And the other thing is, Jolt and Cold Breath do enough damage combined to where, if you're unlucky on your rolls, that's around 70 damage to everyone in your party, which is way more than what we can safely heal, especially since Lienda and Eski each have 200 vigor. Like, even Cat can't outrun these guys, so the only reliable way I've found for beating these guys is to have Ryu and Rand, our 2 slowest guys, use fire spices on every single turn. Try to cut that revival chance to only 50% a turn, and just shut them down before they can get rolling, because otherwise, this is a fight that will just steamroll you.
Yeah, this fight already seems insane. Like, you can't really beat it if you don't have the fire spices, right?
I mean, maybe you could. I'm not sure what approach most people use. It's definitely not something I could consistently beat, though, so take that for what you will.
Yeah, because the thing with this is that they have just about everything. They have recovery, right, and reviving, and they have a lot of HP. They put out a lot of damage, so you really stand no match against them if you don't have items, I feel.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you have to keep Leanda and Eski locked down, or else you're just not going to be able to heal off everything they can do to you. Which I actually appreciate that the game does that for once, because apart from Argus, I feel like most of the bosses in this game either fall into that awkward category of they just, they do a lot of mass damage, but you always have some option or another where you can still outpace them regardless. It's something a lot of RPGs fall into where... Okay, Skyzo, tell me if this is familiar. Chaos uses Inferno and does 250 damage to all your party members. Your White Mage uses Curaja and heals 300 HP to all your party members. Next turn, he uses Cyclone and does 210 to all your party members. Your White Mage uses Curaja again and heals 300 HP to everyone in your party. And on it goes until finally the boss dies. Does that sound familiar, Skyzo?
Well, it sounds like a battle of attrition, and it sounds like, well, the way you worded it sounded like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, I suppose. But you understand what I'm saying, the loop that a lot of RPGs get into once they introduce AoE healing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, powerful, so if you don't have any limits, that's what it boils down to.
It's actually kind of the reason why I liked Dragon Quest VI so much, because the fights are very structured. Their attack patterns are usually semi-fixed, so you can sort of predict what they'll likely do. But they do so much damage that even once you do get access to the multi-healing options, you can't just outlast them. You have to prepare for what they do on each turn and react accordingly. Like the Mortimer fight, where on a lot of the turns I swapped people in and out according to who was hurt, who was fresh, and who would most likely survive the turn. You remember how thrilling that fight was?
I do, and I can imagine the level of strategy that goes into that as well.
That's why I always say that Dragon Quest VI is the gold standard for how to correctly design a boss fight for RPGs. And this fight here also is unusually good for the game, because, like I said, if you just go into this unprepared, you are not going to be able to keep up with everything they do.
That's true. So this is just one of those, I guess, yeah, I don't know, this seems like one of the only battles where this kind of thing is involved in, which is a little sad to me.
Yeah. And there's even sort of an X factor, where Algernon, like most monsters, has a 1.5% chance of critting, so even in the times where it looks like I've got them locked down, there's always a little bit of X factor keeping me on edge, and I like that, you know what I mean?
That's the whole point of crits, to introduce a little bit of chaos.
Yeah. Anyways, the other interesting thing about this fight, from a lore perspective, is that it's sort of a reference to Breath of Fire 1, I feel like. Because the main villain of that game was a goddess called Miria, or Tyr, depending on the translation. And she also put on the same innocent little girl act to lure unsuspecting people into her trap. Except in her case, she could grant wishes, so what she'd do is she'd set kingdoms, entire kingdoms, up against one another to destroy themselves, just vying for her affections. So, and this girl kind of has the same thing, where she pretends to be innocent, but turns into a hideous monster when you refuse to fall for it. It's kind of neat.
It's an interesting trope, I'll say that.
It's a nice, subtle reference to Breath of Fire 1 without beating you over the head with it.
That's true, although where this boss fight is located is just, I think it speaks to how strangely designed this game is, some of the portions are. Because this is like an endgame boss, essentially.
I thought the same thing, actually. But on the other hand, it's also one of those fights where there aren't any random encounters, so if my theory holds true, that's part of why it was designed this way.
I'll say that your theory does seem to make sense.
Anyways, this has been Fiona Day Quester signing out. Have a nice day, everyone, and God bless you.
Alright, I'll see you later, YouTube.
See ya.